Hello again. Um, in this video, I will continue on the GUI trail, and we will go into container GUIs, where an inventory is involved, because this makes it a little bit more difficult, as there are now the server comes into play. So the items need to be synced between the inventory and the client. So it all gets pretty complicated. Luckily, libGUI makes a lot of this go away. It does a lot of things for you, like syncing packets between server and client. So that's very useful. Um, Either way, let's just get right into it. First thing we need to do is create a block because we need to open a block inventory. So let's create a package, call it block. You can honestly do this with an item as well. If an item has an inventory, let's say you want to create a backpack mod, you could do that as well, but I'm going to use a block just to switch things up. So we put a block into the blocks package. We'll call the block example block. And we will extend block. No, not that block. I will extend the Minecraft block, yes. And it will implement block entity provider. Now in this create block entity, you will create a block entity from this block. But first we need to create a block entity for our block. We have to do this as soon as we start working with inventories. That's just how Minecraft works. Alright, so let's create our block entity. And this will extend block entity. There you go. And we actually won't do this. We will just define the type of entity here. But we need to create that first as well in the mod initializer. So let's go there. All right. So we need to define a block entity type. And it will be the example block entity. And we need to register this block entity. All right, so yes, this line of code, you just copy it. It registers the block entity. You will see that this example block it doesn't exist yet. That's because we need to register the block as well. Um, so let's get that going. We do it in the same way. Now again, I won't go into the depth of the creating a block and registering it. Um, so now we have registered our block and our entity, block entity. So now we can put in here example block dot, not example block, example mod dot example block entity. There we go. So now we need to add inventory to this block entity. Now the way we do that is we need to implement an inventory first. We will do this with an interface, and this code I just pull off Fabric. I will put it in the description. I didn't write it. Um, it's just copy pasting, and it will do everything for you. So an interface, and call it example implemented inventory, and we will implement, oh no, extend, sorry, cited inventory. And now you get the code from Fabric, from the Fabric's website, and you paste it in here. Also up top here, we need to put at functional interface. There we go. These imports are all wrong. We need to change this to this. Yep, that's all. So now that should be working. All right. Up next, we need to implement this interface in our block entity. So let's get back in there. Implements example implemented inventory, and we implement the methods. To tag, let's select all. So get items. We need can a player use inventory? That is one. We need from tag and to tag, and that'll be all for now. So there we go, no errors anymore. We do need to add this at the top. This will store our items. So this inventory will store one item, one stack of items, defined by this size. If you want more, you just need to change this number and you'll be able to store more items. Just to keep it simple, we'll keep it at 1 for now. The only thing we need to change is the code within these methods. So get items will return not null but the items itself. Can player use inventory? We will write in there return pause dot is within distance player dot get block pause 4.5. This is just the distance at which a player can access the inventory. Then the from tag and to tag, need to change that as well. So in from tag, you write inventories dot from tag tag. No, not return. Right, we need to write the items in the tag. So this goes back to a tutorial about NBT tags I also made. This comes down to the same thing if you remember, if you watched that video. If you didn't, definitely go check it out. And the to tag we will write to tag, and we will put the tag in there. And we also want to write it to the items. Alright, there we go. Now we wrote all our code that we need to in this class. So now that we have the inventory taken care of, we can finally start making the GUI part of this. So in libGUI, it comes mostly down to the same thing. And last one, we need to create a screen. Let's make a package first to keep organized again. So we call the GUI again, and we will create a new class, example block screen. And this will extend not client cotton screen because we did that in the last one. This will extend cotton inventory screen. And we need to put in here the controller. And the controller is what will contain all the inventory elements. So we'll call it block controller. There you go. But of course he doesn't know this class yet because we haven't created it yet. So let's do that. So in this one we will extend cotton crafting controller, create the constructor. We will only make one, this one or this one, it's this one. Well, actually it was the other one, but we'll change it. So in this we can create again, like we did last time, the grid panel. So now it all comes back from the last video. It's just the exact same thing. That's why libGUI is so easy. It all works very similar. We set the root panel again, and we can set the size 300 by 200. And now we can add our items in here as well. But let's make sure we don't have any errors anymore. So in here we need to create constructor. Yes. All right. Now we have created our block, our GUIs. Now the only thing we still need to do is register the GUIs. We need to register because we need to add it to the server and the client. So let's go into our example mod, the mod initializer. Now this mod initializer initializes everything on the server side and the client side. There are some things we need to register only on the client. So we need to add another mod initializer that will only run on the client. So let's create a new class. I will call it example mod client. Implements client mod initializer. Implement the methods. It comes down to the same thing. Now the only thing we still need to do is make sure that in our fabric mod JSON we have a new entry point client, and we will just copy this and we'll change it to the example mod client. So now we can start registering our inventory GUI. So in our server and client side mod initializer, we will register our block first. We created the block here, but we didn't register it yet, so let's do that. Right, our block is registered now. Now to register our controller, after that hell of a one-liner, you will see here that something is wrong. We need to create this ID still. Um, so let's just add that into our. Now, before we register our inventory, I want to fix the constructor I had here in the inventory. Yeah. So we'll change this. We will get int sync ID, and we will get player inventory, then block context, and in the super constructor we will write there we go. The recipe type can be anything, but it depends on what you want to do exactly. We won't actually do anything to the item, but you could create a crafting recipe, a smelting recipe, a stone cutting recipe, and so on. I'll just keep it at um, smelting, but we won't do anything, we'll just store it. But you can add the functionality yourself. Um, so now let's register it actually. So another one-liner that is gonna make everything very confusing, so stay with me. This is also in the description though, and on the libgui wiki. You can just copy paste it as well. So there we go. We registered the controller. Now, as you can see, there is something wrong here. Cannot resolve symbol ID. Let's create that. Create constant field. And it is an identifier indeed. Oh, this will just identify our block. So now that we have added the ID, you will see that the error here is gone, and we have registered our our controller. Now on the client side, we still need to register the screen. So we need to go into example mod client. So and the client mod initializer, and we need to do the same thing for the screen, really. Again, if you don't want to type this, you could just copy paste it and change everything that needs to be changed. Now there is actually one more thing we need to register. We have registered the block entity type, but the block is not the item itself. So we hold the item and we place the block. But to place a block, we need to first hold the item as well. So we need to register an item that will represent the block, which I didn't do. Um, so let's do that. To do this, we need to go to the initializer and we need to register an item. So now we have registered the item. So now we just need to set up our GUI like we want it to. Let's go into the controller and we just need to do the same thing as we always did. We can add labels here and all those, but we need one specific item, one specific widget, and it's an item slot, of course, because we want to store an item in there. So we can do that by defining a W item slot. Then we need to add this item slot as well to the root panel. Now we just need to do a few more things to make everything work. Because if we do this, we will only see the item slot from the inventory. When we only add the item slot itself, but we won't see our inventory. So we need to add that as well. And at the end, we need to call this method validate this. Now, if all goes well, we should be able to launch the game and have everything working for us. So let's see the item. This. I should be able to place it. There is our item. Right click it and you can see the inventory with the item slot here. Now let's just grab a random item, dirt, and let's place it in there. and it's there. And we can leave the inventory, open it again, and it'll stay in there. If we save and quit, it should also stay in there. So everything is working, saving it, opening it, viewing it. And now we can just do whatever you want. You can add more slots here. You can add functionality like smelting, stone cutting, anything you want. Um, Other than that, thanks for watching. If there's any more suggestions, I will see what I can do.